Hello everyone, this is part 3 of What If Naruto Got a New Teacher After Training Trip, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Training never ended for Naruto and Toma as Kankaru trained them through the night. By about 3 in the morning they finally collapsed to a point where they needed to rest for their chakras sake. They had collapsed on the warm sand as they stared up at the moon and the stars. Naruto smiled when he looked around, then looked at Toma who was collapsed beside him. "You two are hopeless," a voice said behind them. It would be above them in their perspective. They both looked towards the voice to find Dasara. "You two should have stopped long ago so you weren't in this condition," she sighs as Naruto gives her a wide grin. "Hey Dasara-sensei, we've been doing pretty good," Naruto said as Toma shook his head yes. "Yeah right, I mean Hinata only took 2 hours to get it done and it took her 5 to finish all the weather and chakra control," Dasara said while rolling her eyes. "She did." Naruto jumped to his feet but began to fall from exhaustion before Dasara caught his hand and held him up until his balance began to work again. "My Hina-chan did?" he asked as Dasara shook her head yes. "She gets to learn a new technique tomorrow. As for you two though, you're very far behind and you need to start catching up or you'll never learn what you need to know, especially since I still have to train both Naruto and Gaara in the ways of controlling the demons." "Wait, to control our demons?" Naruto asked happily. "Yes, to control them, so Gaara can finally sleep and you don't have to worry about the fox breaking out of the seal so you can use his chakra freely while fighting the Akatsuki and Orochimaru," Dasara said as Naruto began to do a quick victory dance but he stops when someone clears their throat. "But you can't learn that until after you're done with my training, Naruto-san." Kankaru sat on a rock behind Naruto. Toma sat up and looked to Kankaru. "How can we complete it if you're so harsh on us?" Toma asked as Naruto turned to face the sand ninja. "Because I'm harsh because that is how it's supposed to be. I'm harsh like the weather you'll be training with and the terrain and conditions of the sand," Kankaru states as they just stare at him. "Well said Kankaru. Now, Naruto, Toma, let's go back to the inn before you two start training again and I have to get Temari and Hinata to show you how it's done," Dasara says as she walks away. Naruto helps Toma to his feet as they two boys trail behind her but they keep the distance from her. Breakfast was finished in silence as the boys exchanged looks and Hinata could only watch them. She knew today was going to be a long stressful one. Hinata went to get the door as she heard the knock, quickly wanting to leave the table before the two started pummeling each other. She opened the door to reveal Temari and Kankaru. She did the only thing polite and asked them in for breakfast but when the three entered the kitchen Temari could only laugh at the two boys at the table. "I see you two don't see eye to eye," Temari said which shifted their attention to her. "You two shouldn't work together should you? We work fine together, we just had a bad morning," Toma said as he shoved his fork into a pancake. "No you had a bad morning. I had a really good one so far," Naruto said as Toma shot him a death glare and Naruto laughed at it. "Wow, this is going to be an interesting day isn't it?" Kankaru asked and looked to Temari and Hinata. "I'm going to go get ready Temari-sensei." Hinata bows slightly and quickly leaves the room leaving the two sand nin to deal with the two boys staring at each other ready to K one another. Temari and Kankaru decided to have the three train in the same area today so the boys could see how it's done. Temari faced Hinata who was ready. Even though the two boys were to watch the match they could only stare at the girls for they were only in tight short shorts and tight small tank tops. Naruto punched Toma in the shoulder as soon as his eyes wandered to Hinata's ass but Toma still couldn't help it. The girls started by shifting the sand under their feet to support them as they readied for the fight. Kankaru watched intensely while sitting on a rock as Temari threw her fan out of the way. "Ready?" Kankaru asked as both Kunyakus nodded yes in compliance. Kankaru put his hand out so it was sideways and brought it down to symbolize the match had started as the two Kunyakus charged at each other. Their speed was remarkably and Naruto watched as the chakra formed around their feet to boost the speed. Temari went to make a blow to Hinata's side but she dodged it and jumped back the sand catching her feet as she landed. Hinata began to quickly run through hand signs for her Byakugan as Temari hurried towards her ready to strike. As Temari attacked Hinata, Naruto went to yell for Hinata to move as the sand caught Temari's hand and stopped her. Hinata's Byakugan activated a second after this and Hinata thrusted her hand through the sand to connect to Temari's side, sending her back a few steps. So who's winning? Someone says behind Toma and Naruto. They both quickly turn around to find an older Shikamaru Nara. Shikamaru smiles as Naruto does and they all turn their heads back to the fight. I think Hinata is so far, she got a blow in on Temari but I'm not sure. Toma said as Shikamaru sighed. That doesn't count, I mean Temari is going easy on her so she needs to use more power or Temari will come out on top. Shikamaru said as he watched his fiancée fight with the Hyuga heiress. Hinata quickly Yuukan shot, using the sand to speed up her attack only to have Temari catch her wrist and fling her into the ground. Before Hinata could get up, Temari pinned her down with her foot. Good match, you've almost got it fully under control. Temari took her foot off and helped Hinata to her feet. Thank you Temari-sensei, Hinata said as she bowed lightly. Great job Hinata-chan. I mean, you're doing so much better than me. Naruto says happily as Hinata smiles from the acknowledgement. Naruto looks to Temari, oh and Temari-san, Shikamaru's here. Temari stops smiling and slowly looks over to where Shikamaru is talking with Toma. Temari goes over to them and tackles Shikamaru to the ground before he can do anything. You know, I wasn't planning on coming at all, this is all way too tr, he begins to speak but stops when she finishes his sentence. Troublesome. She smiles and gets up and helps him to his feet. Are you here on business or do you have time off? She asks him while hooking her arm through his. Time off, we can plan in this time. He said but she sighed. No, because I'm training Hinata. You won't be training her for a month, will you? Shikamaru asked her as her face lit up with excitement. You'll be free for a month? She asked happily and she smiled as he shook his head yes. Then I guess we will be planning. She happily exclaims and runs off and over to Hinata and the other two they are training. Let's get back to work, she says, and Kankuro watches her closely knowing that her temper is going to build up and she might explode if she gets upset whatsoever. Temari was very talkative the rest of the week. She talked to Hinata about everything and anything that was on her mind. Naruto and Toma finally finished their training about halfway through the week, but they now trained with Gaara and soon Gaara and Naruto would train with Dasara to control the demon inside. Hinata didn't like the idea that the four of them had to attend some ball in a few days. Temari had dragged Hinata shopping as they picked out dresses that would make any man want them. Temari said it was necessary for them to do so. Kankuro explained the party to the boys before he shipped them off to Gaara since he knew Gaara wouldn't explain it. The boys all had gone shopping for tuxes, which was Kankuro's idea, with Shikamaru, who said it was all too troublesome. The boys had tried to figure out what the girls were going to wear and they had no idea where the girls hid them. Finally they gave up after tried prying the information out of Hinata. Of course Naruto knew she would tell him but Dasara made certain that she didn't. Training went very slow the next few days but it was still enough to keep them all in shape. Naruto hated how he knew nothing about what his Hina-chan would look like at the ball, which distracted him. Naruto, look out! Toma yelled at the blonde who had been staring out into nothingness for the past 12 minutes of the lecture Gaara was given. Why'd you do that? Naruto quickly rolled and looked up to the one who hit him, which was Gaara himself. Oh, sorry Gaara. The blonde looked down to the sand he laid on knowing he had done something to offend the young Kazekage. You seem to be occupied with something Uzumaki. Gaara said as Naruto slowly looked up at him. It's nothing, I'm just thinking about some personal stuff. Naruto sighed and got to his feet. He brushed himself off and looked to Gaara. Really? I'm sorry about spacing out. It's okay, you don't need to apologize, and Gaara understands, right Gaara? Toma asked as he placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Gaara nodded yes as he turned away and went back to sitting on his rock. Now, as I was saying, demons help you adjust to weather conditions easier than Kankuro taught you. When you have a demon it can remember the chakra patterns for you instead of you learning them on your own. Gaara said as he folded his arms across his chest and closes his eyes. Tsukubi can remember it for me. Naruto says as he tries to get his mind off of the party that night. Correct Uzumaki-san. Gaara said as he opened his eyes. Tomorrow we will work on it, but for now you must go get ready for the ceremony tonight. Gaara got to his feet and left the two boys in silence. You know Naruto, I bet he won't let you daydream next time. Toma says as he starts back towards the hotel. I know. I won't do it again, okay? Naruto said, trying to defend himself as they went to get ready for Naruto's first party ever. Dasara had a bad feeling about the whole party ever since they told her and her students about it. She had kept her guard up just in case there might be a disturbance at the so-called ceremony of the sand. She picked her dress wisely, being in a black dress that was tight in her chest and waist but loose on her legs with slits on the sides from her knees down. Of course, being a shinobi, she hid a kunai or two in her garter which was well hidden from the crowd. Dasara knew this dress showed off her feminine side and men were staring at her already, but she didn't care. She'd rather be safe than sorry in the end. She went with Temari to get Hinata about a half an hour before the celebration was to start. Temari understood why Dasara was so uptight. I mean, she felt that something would happen too. Temari wore a tight red dress that was somewhat similar to Dasara's, but she had black roses embroidered on it, and she hid a kunai in her hair, which she got done in private, and she hid one also in her garter belt. She had warned Shikamaru early and he hid some with him too. They arrived at Dasara's room much sooner than expected to find Hinata still getting ready. Temari smiled at the dazzling shinobi before her who had insisted on getting something that covered her, but in the end Dasara and Temari won the argument. Hinata didn't understand why she had to wear this dress. She didn't want to go to the party or anything, she hated get-togethers, only because that meant she had to talk. The party started at 8 p.m. and Naruto couldn't wait. It had just begun as he walked down the stairs to the party with Gaara, Kankuro, Shikamaru, and Toma. They all had black suits except Gaara, who had to wear the black Kazekage outfit instead. Toma smiled as he looked over all the people, not finding Hinata, Temari, or Dasara. He had placed a black rose on his suit 10 minutes prior to the event and placed a white one on Naruto's. Naruto was excited when he heard Sakura and Tsunade would be there tonight. He couldn't wait to see them and introduce Toma to Sakura. They stopped at the bottom of the stairs as 5 women approached them. They recognized Hinata, Temari and Dasara quickly. Naruto recognized the other 2 and gave them a wide grin, only to receive a big smile from a pink-haired kunyaki in a pink dress and a woman in Konoha's Hokage outfit. The women stopped in front of the men. Hokage-sama, Sakura-chan. Gaara bowed to the 2 women. We are pleased to have our allies leader and her student present at this festivity. Thank you, Kazekage-sama. Tsunade bowed, but then both leaders regained their composure. Hello, Naruto. Sakura smiled as she spotted him. Naruto smiled and wrapped an arm around Hinata, what still made her blush furiously. I see you finally notice Hinata liked you. I'm happy you did. Sakura looked to Toma, who quickly looked away from her. He wondered how and why she looked to him. Who's your new partner, Naruto? She asked and looked to Naruto, then back to Toma. Oh, right, introductions again. Naruto sighed as he put his hand on Toma's shoulder, then Toma looked to Tsunade and Sakura. This is Toma, he's a demon vessel like me, my new partner. Naruto smiles, and the woman beside Hina-chan is Dasara, she's our sensei. Naruto smiles as Dasara smiles at Tsunade. Well then, Dasara already knows me, but I should introduce my pupil to you too. Toma, I'm Tsunade and this is Sakura Haruno. Sakura and I are medical ninja from Konoha, and I'm the Hokage. Tsunade smiled as Toma shook Tsunade's hand. Nice to meet you, Toma said as he kept his gaze away from Sakura. She made him uncomfy for some reason, but he didn't know why. Well, why are we standing here? This is a party. Kankuro went out onto the dance floor into the massive crowd of people who were already out there. Gaara followed him along with Temari and Shikamaru, who yet again said this party was troublesome. Now Tsunade-sensei, please don't do anything that would make Shizune feel bad about not coming along to stop you. Sakura said as Tsunade took off towards the refreshments. Sakura sighed, for she knew her sensei wasn't listening to her, yet again. Well then, let's go party. Naruto exclaimed happily, and he dragged Hinata onto the dance floor no matter how much she struggled to stay with Sakura. Sakura looked to Toma and smiled. Aren't you going to dance, Toma-san? She asked. He stared at her for a few moments, then finally shook his head yes. What was she doing to him? Was all he could ask himself before she pulled him onto the dance floor. This is a great party. Temari smiled and looked to her friends who were all dancing. She had wanted to invite more from Konoha but she couldn't since the Hokage said it would be too risky. She watched as Sakura and Toma danced, Toma seeming a little shy, a little too shy. Temari thought of how that pink-haired Kuniaki once loved the Uchiha they fought so hard to track down but failed. She also thought of how they almost lost Naruto twice to that damn Uchiha and how much Sakura had cried both times. The girl before them though was so much stronger now, it was a mystery still but that girl was a top medical ninja who was also a top shinobi, and the Hokage's apprentice. Hey Hinata. Temari quickly took Hinata from Naruto, who hated what was going on since he was just able to get close to his girlfriend, and hurried towards Toma and Sakura. She then quickly took Sakura, which made Toma very relieved that the girl who weakened him was now far away so he could regain his composure, just a little even, and pulled her away. She pulled the two Kuniaki to a corner off of the dance floor where no one was around. Okay, I've got a few questions for you Sakura and some statements, and Hinata is the witness to what is about to be said and heard. Temari said. Sure Temari, ask away. Sakura smiled as Temari took a deep breath. Okay, do you have a boyfriend? Temari asked and Sakura nodded her head no. Okay, did you notice how Toma was acting around you? He acted entirely different than his usual hyper-gentleman routine. He acted scared when you looked at him or even said anything to him. I noticed that too. Hinata whispered, he's acting very weird, he's never acted like that before ever since I met him. I noticed he was shy, that was all really. Sakura said as her two friends cornered her. Temari got close to her and closed her eyes while putting one finger up in the air. He's crushing on you. Temari said simply as she opened her eyes to look at the other two girls. What are you going to do about it Sakura? Temari said as the pink Kuniaki looked at them wondering what to do. What am I supposed to do? I mean, he's cute and all but, Sakura whispers. I mean, he's not from my village really and he's traveling with Naruto. I would need more than that. Besides the fact that I know nothing about him except for what you told me today. Wait, hold it right there. Okay, so you would consider going out with him. I mean maybe just a little chance of you two hooking up. Temari said as Hinata and her looked to Sakura. I would, I mean he seems nice and everything, you guys have all told me how nice and good he is. Naruto said nothing but good things about him in his letters. Sakura said while twiddling her index fingers together. Well then, Sakura, I wouldn't be surprised if he does ask you out, I mean, he really needs a girlfriend and he'd most likely pick you. Hinata said. Sakura was stunned that Hinata was talking about the subject of her dating Hinata's teammate. If Hinata was considering it then he must be a good guy. Maybe I'll give it a try, but I'm not promising anyone anything. Sakura smiled as the other two girls smiled at her. Well at least it's not Sasuke right? Temari asked and looked to both of the others. Yeah, don't worry, I'm completely over Sasuke now, I have nothing to do with him anymore. Sakura said simply with a little anger in her voice. The Uchiha pissed her off so much she couldn't stand it anymore. He almost killed her brother, Naruto, twice and he was nothing but trouble anymore to her and the village. Good now let's get back to dancing. Temari cheered and quickly left Hinata and Sakura alone to dance with her fiancé. Sakura looked to Hinata and then to the ground. Hinata, do you really think he likes me? Or that it'll work out? Sakura asks quietly. Hinata smiled and wrapped an arm around her friend's shoulders. It'll work out Sakura, I mean he can write letters to you every day, I can tell him your address and Naruto can give him Gamikichi to deliver them to Konoha. Hinata smiled when her friend warmed up and smiled herself. Thanks Hinata. Sakura said as they headed back to the dance floor. Toma didn't know what to do as he dragged Naruto off the dance floor, leaving the girls to dance alone with Kankuro and Shikamaru. Toma needed answers to anything and everything. He pulled Naruto into the beverage room where only a very drunk Tsunade was, she had passed out only moments before. Naruto, I need help. Toma said frantically. Naruto smiled at this, seeing that Toma did have a weakness, girls. Of course Toma, I'd be glad to help you. Naruto put an arm around Toma's shoulders and Toma looked up at him. What do you need? Well you see, it's about your friend Sakura, I feel so uneasy around her and I don't understand why. I mean she's a nice girl but I know nothing about her other than I love her pink hair and those deep emerald eyes of her, oh no I'm babbling. Toma groans and Naruto laughs. Toma looks quickly at Naruto as he laughs and Naruto smiles. You're crushing on my teammate, sister, and fellow shinobi Toma. It's nothing really serious, it's just the first time you've had love at first sight. Naruto explained to his poor friend who knew nothing of women. If you like her you should compliment her on her looks, she likes that a lot. But, I mean I'm not part of your village, Toma starts but Naruto see him off. Temari and Shikamaru are from two different villages and they're getting married. It shouldn't be any different for you, except you'll be traveling with Mai, Hinata, and Sensei but you could send her letters till we get back and I can deliver them with Gamikichi. Don't worry about it, Sakura would understand and she loves mail also, and she loves to talk to Gamikichi a lot. You think she likes me? Toma asks, sounding mostly unsure. Of course, I mean everything I've told her is nice, you're good looking and I bet you Temari and Hinata are telling her about you right now. More of I'm positive they're talking about you right now. Naruto said as he tried to reassure the blushing shinobi beside him. Now what you need to do is act as normal as you can so nobody thinks anything is going on and tell her how you feel later on, okay? Naruto said as he went to the door. Now if you'll excuse me, Kankuro is hogging my Hinata and I'd like to dance with her. Sure, go ahead, Toma said as his friend ran off into the dance room and disappeared into the crowd. They danced for hours. Toma tried to steer clear of Sakura but he ended up dancing with her anyway, thanks to Temari. Naruto had hogged Hinata to himself until he finally was forced to switch. He now was dancing with Sakura so he decided to ask her about Toma. Hey Sakura-chan, Naruto whispered to his friend as she looked up at him. Yes Naruto, she says as he looks to her, then he looks around to make sure no one's around, then he looks back to the pink-haired Kunyaki. Do you like Toma? He asked out of nowhere. She sighed and looked into the blue eyes of her brother. I've already had this talk with Temari and Hinata, must I have it with you too? She says as if she's being pressured. I didn't know Sakura, but I need to know, it's important. He said as she looked to Toma who was now dancing with Hinata, they were laughing and messing around. I do, but I'm not sure, she whispers as he smiles. Thanks Sakura-chan, you won't regret what I'm about to do. He quickly disappears into the crowd. Wait Naruto, she calls after him but her call goes unheard. Damn, she sighs and runs a hand through her hair. Naruto quickly pulled Hinata and Toma away from the dance floor as he and Toma turn away from Hinata. What's going on? Hinata asks as she tries to squeeze into the conversation but can't. Nothing Hina-chan, just a little man talk. Naruto said quickly and went back to Toma. They whispered for a good 5 minutes then Toma took off. Naruto turned to Hinata who had her hands on her hips. What were you doing? She asked with a little force behind her voice. Naruto had never seen her anywhere near angry but he could tell she was about to. Nothing, it only has to do with me and Toma, nothing more. He said in defense knowing the girl before him probably knew better but she ignored it and went back to the dance floor with him following closely knowing tonight wasn't going to end well. Sasuke knew he had to kill Naruto soon, his life depended on it but he knew nothing of the party until one of the henchmen told him of it. Even though the sand and sound were no longer allies they still hid spies amongst the sand ninja for information. Sasuke slowly approached the sand's village and looked to where the festivities took place. He frowned when he noticed Toma, one of the boys he was to kill talking to a pink-haired Kunyaki. Sasuke watched closely trying to figure out why he felt so angry as the Kunyaki hugged the boy before her. Sasuke thought of how he would kill the boy, slowly, painfully as he headed for the party. Toma faced Sakura as he stepped back away from her. He felt something, not happiness from just asking the girl before, who said yes by the way, but he felt power. He didn't know where it was coming from but he noticed Hinata looking around. Naruto was asking her what was wrong. Hinata's eyes quickly went wide as she ran for the stairs, Naruto hot on her trail. Toma quickly took Sakura's hand and they hurried for the stairs also. Hinata ran up the stairs so the crowd could see her as she looked around for the source with her Byakugan. Naruto ran up beside her and looked down to Toma and Sakura, who were now in front of them. Everyone get down. Hinata yelled quickly. Everyone looked towards her and the music came to a stop. Hurry and get to safety, an S-class ninja is approaching. She yelled and everyone began to evacuate. Dasara helped some while Temari, Shikamaru, and Kankuro helped more people till everyone was gone except Hinata. Naruto, Toma, and Sakura. Hinata, who is it? Naruto looked to his girlfriend. He took her hand as she trembled from the power. It was different than before was all she could think about. Naruto, it's a sound nin, Sasuke, but his power is so different. Hinata whispered, it's so much stronger than the last time I faced him. He's different. Sasuke. Sakura asked and looked to Naruto then to Hinata, do you think we can handle him? She said and looked to Toma. We'll beat him, Sakura-chan. He won't beat me this time. Naruto said as he held Hinata tight. He could tell that the power was overwhelming the Byakugan and she couldn't turn it off, for she had to watch where Sasuke was coming from. All he could think about was repaying Sasuke for hurting his Hina-chan weeks before this event. Before Naruto could think anything else, Hinata quickly turned around to face the top of the stairs. Naruto turned and looked as Toma and Sakura did. Sasuke Uchiha stood at the top of the stairs with his arms folded across his chest. Hello everyone. He smirks to the people on the lower steps. Sasuke looks to Sakura, who still has Toma's hand in hers, and frowns. I see you now have a new lover. I guess you no longer like me. I mean, I told you not to so long ago. Sasuke growled, but in his head he thought of all the times he had been with Sakura and he lightly shook his head no. How pathetic, he says as if to cover up what his thoughts were about. Well now, let the real party begin. Bring it on, Sasuke. Naruto growls. Naruto slowly stepped in front of his friends to shield them from the missing nin. Naruto watched closely as the Uchiha stepped closer to them. Toma watched closely, preparing himself to do the sacred jutsu he had been working on. Sakura stood there ready to help, if she could, by readying her healing jutsu. Hinata watched the chakra flow into the Uchiha, the weird yellow chakra she had never seen before mixed in with the blue. She couldn't stop trembling as Sasuke looked to her. You see it, don't you, Hinata? I mean, that power is amazing, isn't it? He smirked at the trembling girl as Naruto stepped in front of her, trying not to turn to look at her. So what if you're stronger? I'm stronger too. Naruto growled to his old comrade. Toma stepped up behind Naruto and whispered the sacred jutsu in his ear with the hand signs. Naruto smirked to Sasuke and shielded the others while taking a step forward. You ready, Kit? Kyuubi asked as he went over the hand signs and the technique Toma told him over and over again. More than ever, that bastard is going to pay. Naruto growled, but let's save it for later, I want it to be a surprise. Naruto cracked his knuckles and his neck as he prepared himself. Sasuke smirks and charges at him. Toma quickly grabs Hinata and Sakura and jumps back away from the other two shinobi. When they land, Hinata collapses to her knees and Sakura kneels next to her. Toma watches closely as he himself can see the yellow chakra, faintly, and he watches the fox's power surround Naruto slowly. You'll lose this time, Sasuke. I'm going to beat you without even needing Toma's help. Naruto smirked as Sasuke stood there watching him closely. Naruto-kun. Be careful. Hinata whispers. Naruto glances over his shoulder to see her trembling on the floor, her eyes pleading with him to hurry. Don't worry, Hina-chan. I won't take long at all. Naruto smiles and looks to Sasuke. Sasuke laughs and hurries towards Naruto with his sword out ready to strike. You'll have to be better than that to beat me, brat. Sasuke said as Naruto charged at Sasuke and they clinged weapons together. Sasuke pushed hard, but Naruto matched his strength and slowly began to push harder to shove Sasuke back a few steps. He goes to trip, but he jumps back and lands on the dance floor. Naruto charges at him, 4 clones appearing around him, all holding kunai knives that are on fire. You'll bastard. Naruto yells as the ground around Sasuke shifts and the ground captures his feet as sand comes out of the ground. Sakura and Toma watch closely as he finally shows that he actually learned something from Kankaru. Temari and Gaara come in on one side as Shikamaru and Kankaru come in the other door. Temari went to step forward, but Hinata grabbed the hem of her dress, stopping her. Hinata, he needs help fighting him, he's no match for the Sharingan. Temari said as she looked down at Hinata, whose eyes were still in their Byakugan form. Naruto-kun doesn't want help. Hinata whispers as she watches the 2 chakras move before her as fast as ever as Sasuke dodges Naruto's flaming kunai knives and Naruto makes more and more flames with the power of the fox's tail. The tail of red chakra stays hidden as Naruto keeps flinging fire at the young Uchiha. In the distance, Itachi watches them fight as he hopes for the Naruto to KO Sasuke once and for all. Itachi smirks when Naruto burns Sasuke's clothing with a kunai, but the fire doesn't spread much. They all watch as Naruto charges at the dodging Uchiha, who readies his summoning jutsu as Naruto readies his also. Sasuke summons a large snake that breaks off the roof as the shinobi below hurry to get out of the way of the debris as a large frog, Gamabunta, arises from the rubble with Naruto on his back. The others watch closely as the two summonings face each other, knowing what was going on completely. Sasuke, we'll stop you this time. I'm not letting you get away again, Naruto said as Gamabunta readied his sword to strike. Naruto stood there watching closely as the young Uchiha did some hand signs. The snake gets bigger and its fangs sharper. Three-head jutsu. Sasuke yells as the snake's head begins to separate. It forms three heads as it hisses and snaps at Naruto and Gamabunta. Hey Runt, you ready to try the frog's decree yet? Gamabunta said and glanced up to Naruto, who smirked. Yeah, let's give it a try, Naruto said as he began to run through a large series of hand signs. The snake tries to attack him, trying to disrupt his concentration, but Gamabunta quickly stops the snake with his sword. Naruto smirks and does one last hand sign. Frog summoning shadow clone jutsu. Naruto yells as three more Gamabuntas form and surround the snake. Gamabunta disappears and Naruto lands on his feet on the ground facing Sasuke. You lose, Sasuke, your guardian is gone and the Sharingan of yours takes up too much chakra for you to handle now. Yeah right, Naruto, I've grown since the last time we fought. Sasuke opens his eyes to reveal a three-wheel Sharingan. Itachi watches closely as the younger Uchiha begins to approach Naruto with his Sharingan ready. Let's get this over with, Uzumaki. Sasuke begins to run through some hand signs and smirks. Revival jutsu. He yells as a large coffin comes out of the ground and the front piece falls off to reveal the fourth Hokage. How dare you? Naruto yells in anger. Toma and the others watch closely. Who is that? Toma asks and looks to the now trembling Sakura and Hinata. The fourth Hokage. Sakura whispers. Naruto's father. The one who sealed Kyuubi inside of Naruto. Sakura looks to the fourth and then to Naruto. Naruto has his fists to his sides as he stared at the Hokage standing before him. The hair was a thing Naruto got from his father. As the corpse took a step out, it quickly looked around to find only his son standing before him. No. Yondaime whispers and looks to the Uchiha who stands behind him. You two were to be friends, not enemies. Your father wished it, he said as he turned to face the Uchiha. My father was killed by my brother. I have no father, but I have a sensei who has taught me how to defeat my opponents and be strong to defeat my brother, Sasuke said as the Yondaime stared at him. You are to kill my enemy, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke said as the Yondaime just stayed where he was. Your sensei is Orochimaru, no doubt, but he will not make you strong enough to kill your brother. Your brother didn't have the chance you had. Friends are the true key to power, K is a weakness, Yondaime said as he turned to face his son who stared at him with the same electric blue eyes as him. But I am to do as you say, aren't I? Yondaime whispers and slowly starts towards Naruto who stands still. Kyuubi, what am I to do? He's my father, but he sealed you in here, Naruto told Kyuubi as he tried to think of a plan. Kit, your dad sealed me in here, but I don't hate him anymore. Toma gave you that jutsu, right? Now use it so I can maybe save that damn guy, Kyuubi said back to the young Uzumaki who could only nod. Yondaime looks closely as Naruto closes his eyes and begins to run through a series of hand signs focusing on Kyuubi's power while doing it. Naruto opens his eyes and watches as his father approaches him. Dark Arts. Dragon Ceremony. Naruto yells as the black that Toma had before flows out of Naruto's hands and begins to make a solid form in front of Naruto. The form turns into the nine-tailed fox and final the black mist stops as the fox regains his body in a somewhat smaller version, but the fox stares at Yondaime as the Yondaime stops. It's been so long, Arashi. I haven't seen you in 17 years. Kyuubi growls. Itachi watches closely, intrigued by the technique as the young Uchiha stands there in fear. Now why don't I help you return back to normal, Kyuubi charges at Yondaime, but the fourth Hokage quickly does a jutsu that creates a barrier. Kyuubi stops and jumps back. His tails whip around furiously as the fox watches his opponent carefully. You can't seal me this time. Only the kid can take me back into him when this is over. Kyuubi growled as the fourth watched the Kyuubi, wondering why his son would summon the bastard here, him of all people summoning the once destroyer of Konoha to kill his father. But then he looked at what was going on. It was the right thing to do in Naruto's situation. Arashi Uzumaki couldn't understand why Naruto would ever want to fight him one-on-one. Fighting your own father is a horrible thing to have to do. Well then Kyuubi, let's get this over with yet again, you'll lose just like last time. Arashi smirks and readies himself for battle. You wish you could beat me, Arashi. But that won't happen, ever. Kyuubi growls as everyone watches the fox closely, watching as it readies itself for the same battle that was raged 17 years ago. Kyuubi slowly circled Yondaime, keeping his eyes on the man who stood before him. It was just as he remembered it, that damn man had locked him up and now he was going to show him hell in return. Kyuubi growled when a sword of lightning appeared in Arashi's hand. Naruto watched as his protector, Kyuubi, and his father faced off. Naruto slowly began to sneak around the fight that was about to begin to get to the Uchiha who stood behind Arashi. From the distance Itachi smirked and began to approach the village to get a better look at what was going on below. This time I won't lose, Kyuubi growled as he did the first time they met. Kyuubi charges at the man before him, having memories of doing the same thing before, 17 years ago. Arashi quickly dodges the tackle only to be thrown into the ground with a tail that he didn't notice before. I won't let you win so easily, Kyuubi. I beat you once, I'll beat you again. Yondaime said as he swung at the beast, but Kyuubi dodged the failed attempt and quickly got ready to attack the man who was concentrating his chakra into his hand. Kyuubi and Naruto immediately recognized this. Now everyone would see the Rasengan from its creator, the Yondaime of Konoha. Kyuubi quickly gathered chakra into its 9 tails, his tails now glowing a dark red with fire forming around them. I've never seen the true Rasengan, Desara said as she stepped up next to her other 2 students on the sideline. Hinata and Toma looked up to her, for they sat in the safety of some rubble with Sakura. The true Rasengan? Hinata asks. But I thought Naruto-kun's Rasengan was a true Rasengan. It's not though. You see, Naruto may have the Rasengan mastered in the wind element, but he doesn't have it mastered with all the elements yet. You see how the Yondaime's Rasengan is glowing like a rainbow. He's using all the elements possible to the Rasengan. Desara said as her students watched the 4th Hokage charge at Kyuubi, whose tails collided with the Rasengan, sending off huge waves of energy. This is exactly how it happened 17 years ago, Tsunade whispered behind them. Sakura looked up to her sensei to find her watching closely. This is exactly how it happened. After the Rasengan and Power Strike collided, everything went downhill. That's when Arashi used a forbidden technique to weaken the Kyuubi enough to catch him in the sealing jutsu, but this time he can't do the jutsu, so I don't know what will happen. How do you know, Tsunade-sensei? Sakura asked her sensei, puzzled. Was she there 17 years ago with them and not help? Sakura thought as her sensei watched closely. Narina was devastated when it happened and ran off, Tsunade said as she watched the blonde child of the 2 strongest shinobi watch his father and the demon who was imprisoned in him face off against one another. Who's Narina? Toma looked up to Tsunade. Hinata watched Naruto closely as he approached Sasuke while the other 2 weren't looking. Narina is Naruto's, Tsunade starts, but then she stops when Hinata speaks up. Naruto's mother, you knew it the whole time and you never told him, Hinata whispered as she got to her feet. I couldn't tell him, Hinata, you don't understand the position I was in, and Narina said I was to tell no one. Tsunade ran a hand roughly through her hair as Hinata stood there silent. That's not right, even I had the right to know about my mother, you can't just keep it from him. She turns to face Tsunade. You can't just hide it forever. He needs to know the truth. Hinata starts, but Tsunade punches her in the stomach, knocking the air out of her. Hinata collapses, but Tsunade catches her and holds her tight. I'm sorry, Hinata, but right now he can't know. If he gets angry, he might do something unspeakable in this fight. She gently lays the young Kunyaki on the ground as the other 3 watch her closely and then look back to the battle. You'll SS, Kyuubi growls and charges at Yondaime. Yondaime quickly deflects the extended claws that are pointed at him, but the demon quickly counters with his tail and Arashi into a wall of a building. Gaara steps up in front of all the people's homes. He quickly creates a large wall of sand protecting his people from the fighting from the 2 strong enemies. He saw what it did to Konoha, he would not let it happen to Suna. Kyuubi, I won't let you win, even if I don't have the sealing jutsu you will still lose. Arashi hurries and summons the large dragon of lightning that Naruto had summoned against Toma, but his was much larger and more powerful as Kyuubi summoned a large ethereal dragon of all the elements, and the dragons charged at each other colliding. The dragons scratch and claw at each other, then they begin to bite, but in the end Kyuubi's won. The ethereal dragon charged at Yondaime and a bright light blinded them all. When the light disappeared, Kyuubi stood over Arashi, who was limp on the ground. "I've won this time, this is what you deserve for sealing me inside your kit." Kyuubi turned to Naruto and disappeared moments after the limp Arashi disappeared. Naruto quickly tackled Sasuke before he could do anything and held a kunai to Sasuke's throat. "You've lost, Sasuke," Naruto said as the Uchiha stared at him with dark cold eyes. "You know, I understand you're mad at me for what I did, but I won't go back to Konoha." Sasuke kicks him off and hurries to his feet, only to have another kunai put to his neck and a hand grab his wrists and hold on tight. "You're willing to K me?" Sasuke asked the person who stood behind him. "I am. You broke my heart. I have nothing left to show you of care or of anything. You are to be K, for you are a missing ninja from the village of Konoha." "Sasuke Uchiha, you never said the words once to me, and now, I have nothing left to tie myself to you," Sakura said and looked to Naruto, who watched closely to the woman who stood before him. It wasn't the Sakura who pleaded him to bring Sasuke back, but a stronger woman who no longer loved an outlaw of his village. "We need to clean up this mess before the villagers come back out of their houses." Temari walked up with Shikamaru and Tsunade. "Where's Hina-chan?" Naruto looks around frantically, thinking that his lover was struck down by the battle while he wasn't looking. "She's fine, Naruto, she's just resting over with Toma." Sakura smiled at the worried shinobi to get a wide smile as he rushed over to see his lover, who looked like she was sleeping peacefully. Sakura follows and drops the kunai she used to K Sasuke on the ground to forget him completely as she went over to meet up with the other three. Tsunade stood there over Sasuke's body with Dasara and Gaara for a while, but they took care of it when they were done. After the whole party had been ruined, it was quiet the rest of the night. The villagers rested peacefully as Itachi disappeared from sight yet again, trying not to get caught. That night Naruto only had nightmares. He was reliving what had happened 17 years ago in his mind, through Kyuubi's memories. He didn't understand why Kyuubi was showing this to him, or even if he was doing it on purpose. 17 years ago, Kyuubi towered over all the buildings in Konoha. Most of them were either destroyed, on fire, or abandoned as Kyuubi watched the people run in fear. He had his only lover K, a demon known as Tilon, who was one of the 9 sacred demons. Kyuubi watched as a man stood before him, his hair spiky blonde and his piercing blue eyes staring Kyuubi right in his. Kyuubi was furious, but he saw the young baby in the man's arms and got enraged as he thought of his kin that was K with its mother and charged at the man. Sarutobi watched as the demon charged at the young Hokage, but he stood his ground, sticking to the plan they had laid out only hours before. If this were to fail, then he would have his old job back, and he didn't want that. A younger Jiraiya and Kakashi stood on the sideline and watched as the 4th Hokage was charged at. Kakashi went to step in, but Jiraiya held him back with one hand. "You are not to interfere, Kakashi. I understand that you're worried that this might not work, but you must wait for your turn to have at the demon. Besides, your eye has not fully recovered yet from the surgery," Jiraiya said as the young silver-haired Anbu captain looked up at the Sannin. Tsunade stood beside her teammate and she nodded at the statement he had made. She had done the surgery herself and she knew he couldn't use it yet to see even. They immediately stopped talking when a voice rang out from the blonde. "Rasengan." He yelled as he charged at the Kyuubi before him. The Rasengan clashed with the fires the Kyuubi had summoned, but in the end Kyuubi had been weakened. This didn't weaken him enough though, as the demon's tail lashed out at the 4th, but he dodged it quickly. Arashi quickly did a water dragon jutsu and extinguished the fire from the Kyuubi's fire dragon jutsu. Kyuubi went to attack yet again, but he was stopped as Arashi quickly did a jutsu to freeze Kyuubi in his tracks, and then Arashi used the sealing jutsu. Kyuubi struggled to get free, but nothing happened as Arashi stood there doing the jutsu to the baby. The baby wailed as he felt the heat slowly seep out of his father as time slowly passed. As the Kyuubi slowly began to disappear into the young babe, so did the color in the Yondaime's face. This worried the others, but they still stood the ground for the right moment. When the Kyuubi was finally gone, Arashi collapsed to the ground, the baby still in his arms. The third Hokage, Sarutobi, quickly went to his comrade and lifted Arashi's head as Tsunade took the baby carefully from his arms. The babe wailed harder as he felt the new person hold him. He cried harder as Tsunade tried to calm him. The medic Nin finally got him to calm after 2 straight minutes of singing. Jiraiya looked to her and raised his eyebrow at her singing. He had never heard her sing before then and he knew that she'd never do it again. Jiraiya shook his head thinking of what just happened to his student. As he kneeled next to his student, so did Kakashi. Arashi slowly opened his eyes and smiled weakly as Sarutobi shook his head yes. Rest Arashi, you did what was needed to be done, now you need to relax, Jiraiya said, but Arashi coughed more violently. Someone take the baby, he needs to be treated quickly, Tsunade begun but she stopped as the weak fourth Hokage spoke up. My son, let me see him please, Arashi groaned and reached out to Tsunade. Tsunade gently lowered the baby into Arashi's arms but she sighed as they wouldn't let her treat his wounds. His name, Naruto, he must be taught well, Narina, must not know that he survived. The fourth coughed as they all shook their heads yes. I tell him that I love him, Arashi said as his body went limp and lifeless. For the third time in Kakashi's life he cried. He had now lost his teammates and his sensei to war and demons. Jiraiya held Kakashi tight as the boy struggled to go back to his sensei, though Jiraiya pulled him away. Tsunade stood there trying to calm the young Naruto, but the child only cried. She wondered of what she should do since the mother could not see her child. Now, Naruto awoke screaming at what he had saw. He had seen his senseis cry and Kakashi weak for the first time. He had seen his father's and he now knew that he had a mother. Her name was Narina and she was from another village, he guessed from the information. Why couldn't he know about her? She was his mother after all. She should know that her child is alive. He froze as he felt a hand move on his lap. He looked down to where the hand came from to find a sleeping Hinata. He smiled slightly as he gently pulled the blankets up more to cover her shoulders. I want to find her, I hope she still remembers me, he whispered as he looked out the window. He stared at the moon for a while, but after a few minutes he laid back down and held his Hinata close and fell back asleep, hoping the nightmare, the memory, wouldn't return for the rest of the night. The next day went slowly. Naruto had slept until noon but he found no one around. He wandered to the Gaara's office but still no one was there. Finally he went to the site where the battle had taken place to find everyone helping rebuild the hall that was destroyed. He smiled when he noticed that Sakura was helping lift things with Tsunade, with their inhuman strength. He watched as Dasara, Temari, and Shikamaru began to use bricks and cement to rebuild the hall as Toma and Gaara made the cement. He looked around but Hinata was nowhere to be found. He hurried away from the site before he was forced to help them build. He looked around town but his Hina-chan was nowhere to be found. Where could she be? Naruto looks around and sighs as he continues searching. Damn it, she needs to just appear in front of me right now. He grumbles as he approaches the library. He goes inside and looks around as if she were possibly in there. He goes over to where they keep the old scrolls to find Hinata reading on about people in past generations. She quickly looks up when she hears someone approaching and she smiles at him. What are you doing up? You should have slept some more. She whispered and got to her feet. Don't worry about it, I'm fine. I'm ready to fight actually. I got a bone to pick with Tsunade-chan. He said as he slowly approached her. Naruto, I have to tell you something. I found out about your Hinata. Don't worry, I already know about it. That's why I have to talk to the old lady to get some information about my mom. But I thank you for trying to help. He smiles but she frowns as she looks at his face. You're not happy about it, she whispers. No, I'd have to say it's my entire dad's fault that I know nothing about it. He holds her close. Don't worry, everything will work out in the end. If you say so, but don't be afraid to talk to me. Don't worry, I'll talk all right. Naruto smiles. Now how about we get out of here and help the others rebuild the mess me and our visitor made last night. They left as she shook her head yes. Deep down inside she could tell something big would happen. The next day was extremely boring. They had finally finished the construction but Sakura and Tsunade had to head back to Konoha. Hinata had packed all their stuff as Toma and Dasara taught Naruto and Gaara some demonic spells for the demons to actually be under their control. This pleased Gaara and he even thought about trying one to sleep that night. Toma said he would train Naruto more in depth on the subject later, but Naruto still complained that Gaara learned more than him. The four shinobi left about noon to continue their training journey. As they left, Dasara started to talk about the snow country, which she had declared was their next stop, would be nice to relax in. Naruto had other things in mind though, as he thought about the blistering cold wind that would surely greet them. Hinata laughed at his impression of freezing, and Toma laughed as Dasara punched him hard enough to send him into the ground. The boat was to leave in 3 days and they needed to hurry to the northern part of the continent. On the way, Naruto spoke nothing of his ex-best friend, but Hinata could tell something was on his mind. Training on the way was fun. Naruto hopped from puddle of water to puddle of water while balancing on top of it with his chakra, while Toma formed the puddles from a water jutsu that he had learned for surviving in the sand. Dasara watched as the two goofed off, never seeing Toma ever act that way before. She smiled as she realized this was what he needed the whole time. "You two are gonna get yourselves hurt if you don't pay attention," Dasara said as the two just kept doing what they were doing. "No, we won't. Besides, if we do, Hina-chan can heal us." "Right, Hina-chan." Naruto looked to his shy girlfriend who walked beside their sensei. Hinata slowly shook her head yes, while blushing slightly. Then Naruto looked back to his sensei. "See," he said as he went back to what he was doing before anything was mentioned to him. "You're hopeless, Naruto. I don't think you'll ever change." Dasara sighed as she thought about what had happened 2 days before. Sasuke came and tried to K them, but I'm more worried as to why Itachi was watching from a distance. He saw the forbidden demon jutsu. What if he tells? Dasara thought to herself. She snapped back to reality as Toma and Naruto splashed water all over her. She growls and throws a kunai at them. Naruto dodges only by a little as Toma quickly gets out of the way. "Naruto, work on your dodging instead if you plan on living," she said as the other two laughed at Naruto. "Fine, but next time you won't come close to getting me," Naruto said happily towards his soaked sensei, who only gave him the death look. "Okay," he whispered and turned away as Dasara went back to thinking. He isn't planning on using it with that damn thing they're making like 100 years ago, are they? What is they are? I mean, I don't have the seal of the gods jutsu anymore. I have to give it to someone else and these three aren't ready for it yet. Dasara kept her mind on what could come as the three Chunin stop in front of a busy port with many people and boats. Naruto watches closely as some of the boats pull in while others pull out. He smiles at Hinata when her hand takes his. Hers are shaking slightly from the excitement. Dasara stops behind her students and looks over the town, knowing it was going to be a long trip. She had fear in herself for who they'd be staying with in Snow Country, but she sighed as she thought about the three before her, two full of excitement and the other watching them closely, about to bust out laughing. Dasara laughs lightly and they look to her. She smiles, something none of them saw often, as she started towards the village, her three students behind her. The Snow Country was going to be very interesting and she knew it. She'd have to stay with Omari yet again. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.